Hello, how's it going guys? It's the director. In my previous video I made a guide on how to play a realm, so if you're already at this guide and you've never played, I strongly suggest going back and watching my previous video first, which will be in the description below. If you already are a god at this game and you're just looking to step your game up, then this is the guide for you. In this guide I will be going over the engineer class and what it takes to be a master, along with builds, tips, and some information you may not have known. This game is in alpha and they're doing a lot of patches and updates, so a lot's going to change in the near future, but for now this guide is current and up to date. So to start, each class has its own passive ability. The engineer's passive ability is that he gains 5 armor per second. This is a pretty strong passive. It allows you to gain your armor back during a fight or if you're just lacking potions. And also when taking damage, you always have the tiniest bit of armor, so it's hard for enemies to judge your HP. So first things first, every character has a movement ability. The engineer has his thrust. Thrust shoots the engineer straight up into the air. It's basically like a jetpack boosted jump. The engineer has a very support style and AoE kit, so it's not a lot of mobility. Thrust is his only movement ability and you do not travel far, you travel high instead, so it needs to be used wisely in a fight. Use Thrust to immediately give yourself high ground advantage for a brief moment in combat with your legendary weapon to maximize damage. Use Thrust to get to high areas to potentially set up a turret or rain down hell on your enemies below. Try to avoid using Thrust against assassins if possible. When you start to fall, it can be predictable and you may be setting yourself up to be in someone else's montage. The next ability is Barricade. This is when you deploy a see-through shield that blocks enemy shots and only you can fire through it. This is the most important ability to have in your kit as an engineer. It can be used in a lot of different ways. First, you can use it to land free shots on your opponent or to cover your retreat. You can combo it with your turret to maximize the damage. Once you deploy your barricade, your enemy is going to do one of two things. They're either going to retreat or push through your barricade. In combat, it is always best to trade places and always keep the barricade between you and your enemy. The next ability in the engineer kit is the turret. The turret is best used early game to soften up enemies before they get armored up. It's good to annoy people and suppress certain rotations without you noticing. There are 3 ways you should be placing it. 1 is to watch your back from a direction you are not currently concentrating on, or to alert you of nearby enemies. 2. Place it after you drop the barricade to help get extra damage to players in close proximity. 3 is an annoying spot either higher up or in a place it's a nuisance to take out, so enemies have to take the extra time to destroy it. Late game, the firebomb for the engineer is overpowered. I highly suggest using this combo with the barricade. When you throw the firebomb, wherever it lands it makes a pool of fire and deals damage over time in the area. This is amazing if you're assaulting a forge or in tight quarters. Use this ability to counter a mage's ice block. After she uses it, throw a firebomb on top of her so that she takes guaranteed damage when she comes out of her block. In a building, use it to zone enemies or to flush them out of a hiding spot. Do not throw this at your feet because you take damage from it also. The last ability in the engineer's kit is the healing totem. It's an area of effect heal that can heal you and your allies. It's really good early game when you guys don't have a lot of health potions, but mid to late game it's almost useless. So trade it out for a barricade or a firebomb if you get the chance. Now that I've gone over all the abilities and tips and tricks on how to use them, there's 2 builds that you can run in game with the engineer. The first is the standard build, which is the barricade and the turret. It's pretty obvious. It's like a Reinhardt Bastion strategy from Overwatch. You put down the barricade and you lay down the turret, which will protect it pretty well. This is a nice strategy for forge areas where people will be forced to come to you. The turrets and barricade basically locks out enemies from certain areas and forces them to take alternate paths. Next is the firebomb build, and I personally like this build a lot better than the standard build. Firebomb is a pretty strong ability. You can deal quite a bit of damage with it just by landing on the target, plus the additional damage if an opponent stands in it or is running through it. Barricade allows you to prevent any incoming shots, so if you get into close to mid-range fights, you can play more out in the open with the backup of your barricade in your back pocket. The engineer is all about AoE damage. His firebomb damages an area, and so does his legendary weapon, the plasma launcher. If you land a direct hit with it to an opponent, you're going to deal 800 damage, but if you miss and it lands really close, you're going to get splash damage, and it does 400. This is a really good weapon for people who might struggle a bit with their aim, and the splash is fairly minimal, but it does work really well to enemies hiding behind walls. You can spam this to the edge of where they're hiding and get damage on them. The plasma launcher does not shoot very far and arcs downward after a short distance, so you're better off either keeping fights close or using a longer range weapon to compensate for it. If you're still struggling with the engineering class, here are some general tips that'll help you out. Thrust can help you get to high areas where the assassin and the hunter can't, so take advantage of this if you fight against them. You can still fire shots while using thrust, so be sure to do this. Most other movement abilities for other classes cannot do that. Try to use turret to take fire off yourself. It can be easy to kill, but then you can use it as a way to flank around or fire from a different area. Barricade prevents any shots from coming through, and this can be utilized in close range fights. You can also run through it if you get to the other side of it. Firebomb can be good to keep track of enemies. If they attempt to run through the flames, you can see the damage being done through the walls. Also, lastly, the engineer is constantly recovering armor. This can definitely make you have deceivingly high HP bars. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you liked the video, please let me know in the comment section below if you'd like me to do any more guides like this. Have a good one.